Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make Abula, a popular Nigerian food combination. Abula brings together soft amala, creamy Gbegiri, that is bean soup, and silky Ewedu, jute leaf soup. A rich and flavorful delicacy loved by the Yoruba people of southwest Nigeria. If you've ever wanted to taste authentic Nigerian food, this is the recipe to try. Let's get started. To start the bukka stew, I'm cooking my chicken first. Into the pot, I've added the chicken along with onions, garlic, thyme, curry powder, and burning chicken seasoning, a terra cube, and some salt. I stir everything together, cover the pot, and let it cook gently on low heat in its own juice for about 5 minutes. This step helps the chicken absorb all those flavors even without marinating before I add water to continue cooking. Make sure you keep the heat very low at this stage to avoid burning, especially if you are using an aluminium pot or a stainless steel pot like mine. After about 5 minutes, you will notice the chicken has released its own juice, and at this point, I added enough water because I'll be needing the stock not only for the stew but also for the Gbegiri. Then I cover the pot and allow the chicken to cook until tender. While the chicken is cooking, let's prepare the pepper base for our bukka stew. I'm using tomatoes, tatashe, bawa, pepper, onions, and garlic. You can adjust the ratio of each ingredient to suit your own taste. Once everything is ready, I pour it into a blender and blend until smooth. I will advise using more of bawa and tatashe and less of tomatoes and pepper if you want that vibrant, rich color in your stew. The tomatoes, tatashe, bawa, and pepper I'm using here have already been cleaned and frozen, so that's why they are looking this way. Let's check on our chicken. The chicken is now soft and tender, as you can see on the screen. So next, I'm going to pre-cook the stew base to reduce the excess water. Some people actually prefer to sieve the pepper, but I'm not doing that. I added a little oil to the pot before pouring in the blended pepper mix. This helps to prevent it from burning. Then I will let it cook down slowly until the water reduces. It's time to prepare our Gbegiri soup. Since Gbegiri soup is a bean soup, the main ingredient is beans. I'll be using oloyin beans, also known as onion beans. To peel the beans easily, I'm using a blender. I pour the beans into a blender, add enough water, cover it, and then press the pause button about 3 to 4 times, and that is it. After that, I pour the mixture into a bowl and ensure that I added enough water. Then I rub the beans gently with my hands to loosen the skin. So using a sieve, I separate the peeled skin from the beans. Then I repeat this process until most of the shafts are gone and the water looks clear. As I'm peeling these beans for our Gbegiri, let me share a little fun fact about Abula. This dish is originally from the Yoruba people in southwest Nigeria, and it's one of the stars you will always find at bukkas, that is our local food spots. What makes it so special is the combo, smooth Gbegiri, silky Ewedu, and rich bukka stew all in one plate. Some people say Abula is not complete without goat meat or assorted meat, but today I'm using chicken, and trust me, it's just as delicious. What about you? How do you like your Abula? With assorted meat, fish, goat meat, or just chicken? Please let me know in the comments. Another interesting thing is how balanced this meal really is. Gbegiri made from beans is packed with protein and fiber, so it keeps you full for a long time. Ewedu, on the other hand, is rich in vitamins and iron. It's actually a very healthy leafy vegetable. And then the amala, made from yam flour or cassava, gives you that comforting base that ties everything together. No wonder Abula is considered a complete meal. You've got your carbs, your protein, and your veggies all in one plate. That's why, even though it looks simple, it's such a satisfying meal. I'm curious, guys, have you ever tasted Abula before? Or is this your first time seeing how it's made? Drop a comment, let me know your experience with it. Now that our beans are cleaned and free from the shafts, it's time to start cooking. I pour the beans into a pot, add some onions, a little baking soda, and enough water. Give it a good stir and then cover it and let it cook until very soft. The baking soda helps the beans soften faster. But be careful not to leave the pot tightly closed while it's boiling because it can spill over and make a mess. I want you to see how the beans look while boiling. This is exactly what I was talking about. You can see how it rises up in the pot. So it's important not to cover it tightly or not to cover it at all. Also, remember to stir at intervals while the beans is cooking. This helps it cook evenly and prevents it from sticking to the bottom of the pot. Let's leave the beans to continue cooking and move on to the next task, the chicken. At this stage, I separate the chicken from the stock. I like to leave my chicken sitting in the stock for a while so it can marinate properly in all that flavor before separating them. After that, I sieve the stock to remove any form of yama from the onions and spices before using it. Some people will say I'm sieving away the real thing of the flavor, the real meat. But honestly, I do not care. I just prefer my stock smooth and clean. That's it. So I'm changing from one face of the stove to another here. Then I realized the pepper has boiled enough. The water has reduced. So I take it down and place my frying pan on the fire to fry the chicken. I added some vegetable oil to the pan and let it get hot before adding the chicken pieces. Growing up, I always saw my mom add onions to the oil before frying meat or chicken. And I found myself doing the same thing. To be honest, the aroma is always amazing. But for some reasons today, I couldn't do it. I didn't add onions to the oil before frying my chicken. So if you know the reason why, the reason I didn't do that, drop it in the comments. And if you get it right, I'm going to blow you a kiss. To make my buka stew, I started with some of the vegetable oil I used in frying the chicken, and then I added a little palm oil. Originally, palm oil is the only oil used for this recipe, but because it's me, I'm using both. Yes, because I'm Queen Shakira of my kingdom, I got to combine the vegetable oil and palm oil. Once the oil is hot, I pour in the boiled pepper mix. Oops, that was a sight. Please be careful not to experience that splash. If you realize your oil is too hot, just turn off the stove and let it cool a little before adding the pepper. The reason for the splash is simple. The pepper is hot, the oil is hot, and the stove is already on medium heat, so everything comes alive at once. Next, I go in with the fried chicken and add some of the chicken stock. Then I give it a quick taste to check if it needs more seasoning, and yes, it did. So I adjusted the flavors. You can do the same. If you don't eat seasoning, you may skip the step and just use salt. All is fine. Just adjust everything according to your preference. So after that, I give everything a good stir. I cover the pot and allow it to cook for about 5 minutes. The pepper base is already cooked and the chicken is also cooked. So this step is just to let all the flavors come together beautifully. One of the things I love about this dish is how it brings people together. If you've ever been to a Nigerian buka, you will notice people from all walks of life, students, workers, even big men in suits, all sitting side by side, happily eating abula. Food really has a way of connecting us, to be honest. And thanks to social media, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok, Abula and amala have gained recognition all over the world. These days you see people outside Nigeria trying amala for the first time, sharing their reactions online, and even attempting to make abula in their own kitchens. It just shows how powerful food can be in telling our stories. Honestly, I feel so proud of my heritage and culture. This plate of food is more than just a meal, it's a piece of Nigeria being celebrated globally. The beans is now very soft and it's time to continue with the cooking. I added some of the chicken stock to the cooked beans to loosen it up a bit. This also helps with smooth blending. Then I pour it into my blender and blend it until very smooth. After blending, I pour it back into a clean pot, added some palm oil, stir everything together and adjust the seasoning. Make sure to taste it here to know if you need a little more salt or seasoning. At this point, I also added powdered pepper. If you are using fresh pepper instead, you should have cooked it with the beans and blended it together earlier. And finally, I leave the gbegiri to cook gently on medium-low heat for about 5 minutes just to bring all the flavors together. By the way, are you team powdered pepper or team fresh pepper for your gbegiri? Let me know in the comments. I would love to see what you prefer, or you are team no pepper at all. Actually, you might not even add pepper. I think it will still come out very well. Every time I make gbegiri, I'm reminded of how much patience Nigerian cooking really takes. It's not just about the food, it's about the process. And honestly, the end result is always worth it. That's one thing I really admire about our traditional meals. They teach you to slow down, enjoy each step, and connect with your roots while cooking. It makes me even more proud of our food culture. The next step is to make our amala. I started by adding some water into a pot and letting it come to a boil. It's always best to use a little more water than you think you will need so that you have extra set aside for the second cooking if necessary. So while waiting for the water to boil, I sieve my yam flour. This step is very important because it helps you achieve soft, smooth amala without lumps. So please do not skip it. Also, it is good to sieve your flour. Sometimes you may not know if you have insects in the flour, so when you sieve it, you are ensured that you are not eating what you're not supposed to eat. When the water has come to a boil, scoop out a little and set it aside. Then begin adding your yam flour gradually while turning with your wooden turning stick at the same time. Keep adding until you reach your preferred consistency. Once the flour is fully mixed in and there are no traces left, scrape down the sides of the pot and your turning stick. Then add some of the hot water you set aside earlier. Cover the pot and allow the amala to cook on medium heat for about 3 to 4 minutes. Let's talk about something fun. There are different types of swallows in Nigeria. We have amala, we have semo, pounded yam, fufu, and more. Some people will argue all day that their own favorite swallow is the best. For me, amala with abula has a special place in my heart. But here is a little food debate for you. If you had to choose only one swallow for the rest of your life, which one will you pick? Be honest though, would it be amala, pounded yam, semo, or eba? I already know Team Amala will be loud in the comments, but let's see which side you are on. And another fun question, when it comes to eating swallow, do you prefer to use fork or spoon, or are you Team hand like me? Because honestly, Ewedu and Gbegiri just eat different when you use your hand. Don't be shy, tell me in the comments. We are all family here. By the way, let's talk a little about amala itself. Amala is made from yam flour, which is basically dried yam that has been peeled, sliced, cleaned, dried, and then blended into fine powder. In fact, people in Oyo State, where amala is most popular, take a lot of pride in how smooth and soft their amala turns out. One interesting thing about amala is that it is considered lighter to digest compared to some other swallows like eba or semo. That's why a lot of people say they don't feel too heavy after eating Abula, even though it's such a complete and filling meal. And for anyone watching from outside Nigeria, amala is gluten-free and very natural. It's just yam in its purest form. I'm honestly proud that dishes like these are now being recognized globally, not just for the taste, but also for how healthy they can be. So if you've never tried amala before, maybe this is your sign to give it a go. About 4 minutes later, our amala is well cooked, and now I am turning it to get that smooth texture. This part really works your hand because you have to keep turning for a couple of minutes to achieve that soft, stretchy consistency that amala is known for. Trust me, it's worth the effort. The best way to serve amala with abula is in a deep bowl. First, scoop in the amala and press it down flat with your spoon so it sits nicely. Then go in with your gbegiri. Add the ewedu and finally top it all off with the rich buka stew or omiobe along with your assorted meat. That's the real Abula experience. By the way, I didn't include Ewedu in this video because it will make it too long. But don't worry, I've already made a separate video on it. You'll find the link right up here. Please check it out because I shared the secrets to make it the perfect Ewedu that's thick, slimy and still green. Let me share some fun facts. There are so many myths and stories around Abula. One popular joke is that if you eat amala and abula before an event, you'll probably sleep through it because it is so satisfying. Another one is that some aunties believe you can test if amala is truly smooth by stretching it with your spoon or fingers. If it stretches without breaking, then it's pass mark. And that is it for today's recipe. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more delicious recipes. See you in my next video. Bye.